What is Lethal Company like before? Oh no, I killed him! And after mods. Saying Lethal Company is a successful game is a massive understatement. It went gangbusters after becoming available on Steam and was reviewed very positively by the player base. Thanks to its simple gameplay loop, which emphasized chaos, it generated God only knows how many hours of content from many content creators on pretty much every social media platform. It also managed to spur on a giant modding scene, with many fantastic additions being added by the community that were missing from the vanilla game. But just how much do these change the game? I'm Remus Venkozid, and today you and I are going to be looking at Lethal Company before and after mods, and I'll mention some special mods that you have to give a go. So let's talk about Lethal Company. Created by well-known Roblox developer Zekas, who is known for these games, Lethal Company is a multiplayer co-op horror game that puts you in the shoes of a scrap-selling spaceman, hired by a faceless corporation to gather as much loot as possible from various abandoned moon bases, and safely get it back for selling. You are set a quota, and the goal is to reach it within the 4-day time frame. This is a simple enough gameplay loop at first, but when you add in the various monsters, moon effects, and the dark, things get pretty hectic. If you run out of time during a run or no one is left alive, your ship takes off without you, leaving you with one less day to reach that quota, and having to start collecting scrap from scratch. Miss that quota on the final day, and the company punishes you by blasting you into the cold depths of space. It is a game that really makes you feel expendable. Without mods, Lethal Company is pretty minimalistic. After 2 or 3 sessions, you'll feel like you've seen most of what the game has to offer. There are 9 moons of varying difficulties that you can select to visit, with one being the company moon where you go to sell your scrap. Each of these have their own static exterior environments, though sometimes will be under the effects of modifier like rain, fog, flooding, storms, or the most dangerous, eclipsed. Because the exterior environment is static, you quickly learn the way to the facility main entrance, or emergency entrance. The internal environments, on the other hand, are seed-based, meaning that there are many possible layouts, and navigating these requires some pretty mindful exploration. Run aimlessly into the dark, and you will easily become lost in the similar looking hallways. Do this alone, and you set yourself up with a recipe for death. There are multiple different monsters which can spawn inside each facility with the player. Each has its own set behavior, and once you know how to act with them around, you give yourself a better chance of staying alive long enough to get some loot and make it back to the ship. Hang on, I thought he was on the ship. Scanning monsters updates your on-ship bestiary, which provides you with some context about what they are and how to deal with them. Though there aren't a heap of monsters, their unique abilities are what make each run feel special. You could be having a fantastic run, but because you haven't been checking behind you enough, a bracken sneaks up behind you and kills you. You could take a corner too tightly and walk directly into a spider. You could be the special chosen person to be harassed by the ghost girl. Even though you know where you are going, what the facility will look like, and what effects are happening, you never are certain what awaits you inside the facility. And if you take too long, outside the facility. And it's great. Special mention must be made to the masks, which players can put on to become possessed, and watch as their husk runs about trying to trick your crew into thinking it's you,
damn it.
and then kills them when in reach.
What?
The other big part of the Lethal Company experience are the items you can purchase to help in your expeditions or just to have. The items range from equipment like flashlights, walkie-talkies and ladders, to ship items like a giant horn to attract enemies, a teleporter, or a toilet. There is a heap of stuff to purchase, and there is something very satisfying about seeing a locker packed full of walkie-talkies and flashlights. You can also purchase different suits which will help to differentiate who you just saw get dragged away by a bracken. So that's the vanilla experience of Lethal Company in a nutshell. With that said, let's talk about what mods can bring to the table.
I'm sorry, bees. I'm sorry.
As mentioned earlier, there has been an absolute explosion of modding content for Lethal Company after it hit Steam. These mods, while they don't necessarily reinvent the loop of the gameplay, do improve the overall experience. And thanks to R2 Modman, it is incredibly simple to not only get your friends all up and running with the same mods via code sharing, but it is also easy to manually configure each mod's parameters via the config editor. I hope this is the future of modding platforms because holy shit, so simple and powerful. Anyway, back to Lethal Company. Like previous before and after mods videos that I've done, I'm going to use categories to outline what I've experienced mods bringing to the table. The categories for Lethal Company are visuals, monsters, player items / customisations, moons, and add-ons. Visuals. The game has a very low-res hazy look to it, which is great and all, but say you want to really crisp up the visuals and really see the whites of the bracken's eyes as it drags your friends off. HD Lethal Company has got the goods. The differences are night and day, and once you turn it on, you'll be hard pressed to go back to the vanilla visuals. It just looks so damn crisp. Or maybe you want to feel a bit more hands-on. If you have a VR headset handy, you can step into the shoes of the employee and use hand controllers to perform all the usual actions. I had some hesitations going into this because I thought that the hazy visuals would cause me motion sickness, but it was actually the opposite. The hazy visuals were fine. What caused me motion sickness was me frantically flicking my thumbsticks around as I tried to stay alive. Your friends don't have to be in VR either and can sit and watch as your character model tracks with your movements. It's fantastic, but it does take some tweaking to get working. Otherwise, your hands will be floating above your head and your character will be floating everywhere.
Move backwards for me. And now forward. Yeah, perfect, mate. Beautiful.
Monsters. Running into the darkness is foreboding enough without this next mod. But there is just something so spine-chilling about hearing the voice of a friend that you know for a fact is dead, while you are lost, alone, and completely unarmed. Skinwalkers is a must download. It is creepy, it is sometimes hilarious, and something that I really hope gets integrated into the base game. It has created a few moments where my friends and I have not trusted each other. Why would you do that? That is a massive plus. Speaking of not trusting each other, masks are really fun items to sow seeds of distrust. But in the vanilla game, the masked enemies are clearly identified by their mask. This allows you some extra time to run away while swearing at your mates over voice chat, because no doubt they are spectating and waiting for their zombified body to catch you. With Masked Enemy Overhaul and LC Mask Fix, the masks are removed after possessing a player, and the mimic enemy is changed to look like a random team member, including nameplate and any custom items. This can result in people getting caught off guard more easily and also just generally distrust anyone they see at all times. Another great addition is the Mimic. While each interior map should only have one fire exit, the Mimic spawns in additional doors that look near identical to the fire exit. This makes those easy exits when absolutely lost inside an additional gamble. Pick a fake door and you'll be greeted by the horrific maw of the Mimic. Hopefully though, your friends will have seen the door or the massive blood stain underneath it, and remember not to use it in the future.
There's a turret in the room.
While there are a few custom monsters that have been added, I didn't get a whole bunch of time to play around with them. I want to say the reason for this is because I was exploring the tweaks modders had put in place for the existing monsters, such as adding the ability for the loot bug to use loot they pick up, but in reality, it's because I was enjoying Skibbity Toilet too much. I'm sorry. I know it's just a reskin of the Jester, but it has a flush button that resets its charge up, and for some reason, seeing a silent toilet floating along in the darkness is both hilarious and terrifying. There are also some cool reskins as well, such as the coil head turning into classic SCP-173 or Bracken turning into Freddy, both of which have caused me some serious panic. Player items / customisations. Starting off with what I've seen to be the biggest explosion of content, and that's suits. Modders have been going crazy, making heaps and heaps of custom suits with anything from Peter Griffin to Master Chief to whatever this is. There are an absolute truckload of straight up crewmate model replacements, which go one step further than just a different color suit and actually make the spaceman look completely different. The results are, well, interesting. There are also helmet and suit cosmetics that you can add to further make yourself stand out from your friends. These are pretty goofy, but are a heap of fun and work so well. I'd love to see official customizations making it into the game soon, maybe tied to like the employee ranks. While Lethal Company only has a couple of emotes in its vanilla game, modders have added a ton more, and have even gone as far as to make emotes purchasable from the in-ship terminal. These work especially well after beating up a friend who has tried to put on a mask and ruin a run. As far as items specifically, I think special mention needs to be given to the shotgun. In a game where the previous peak of power was whacking something with a stop sign, having a working shotgun feels too powerful. Like, way too powerful. I think in the several occasions where the crew agreed on purchasing a shotgun, each time someone was accidentally murdered, and we might have only shot at a monster once. Moons. Moons are a weird category, and one that I might just talk about briefly. The modded moons mostly add in new static exterior environments to land in. Some fit the theme of Lethal Company, some are just for fun. While there are a few mods that dabble in the interior environments changing up a bit, there isn't as many as the exterior environments. So while you are absolutely landing outside Princess Peach's castle from Mario 64, once you get inside, you'll be back to the familiar moon base interior. Add-ons. The game loop of Lethal Company is quite simple and admittedly can get fairly repetitive if played over long sessions. However, there are a bunch of mods which act as not only quality of life improvements, but straight up additional content which expands upon the game's core loop. Starting with something that might be considered cheating by some, there is a collection of mods by Flip Mods, which adds extra dedicated inventory slots for flashlights and walkie-talkies. While in vanilla you need to sacrifice 2 of your inventory slots to hold these mods automatically chuck them into dedicated slots when you pick up your first flashlight or walkie-talkie. Not only this, but they bind dedicated keys to using these items. This means that you don't have to have the item in your hand to toggle it, but instead you can just press a key and it works. There's also the well-known More Company mod, which removes the 4-player lobby limit and replaces it with 32. I don't know about you, but I don't know 32 people who play Lethal Company, and can only imagine a public lobby of that size being absolute chaos. But it's just nice to know that if you and 31 other friends ever decide to get together and try to run scrap, this mod is ready to meet your needs. Though I just can't foresee that ending successfully. One mod that would be absolutely horrifying with 32 people is Push Company. Push Company gives you the ability to shove crewmates with the press of a key, relentlessly. Shove them into walls, shove them as they jump. You'll never be able to comfortably jump a gap again, because you'll know that you are one E-press away from flinging off course. If you're feeling like your scrap runs need a bit more like a RPG feel about them, you can add in lethal progression, which gives your crew member a leveling system, as well as skill points. I've never felt the need to chuck these points into anything other than stamina, as I just want to sprint everywhere. And also employee assignments, which give you extra tasks for you to complete during the run for bonus cash. These can be pretty fun and definitely spice up the regular loop. Of course, I've saved my personal favourite for last. Karma for being annoying. Everyone loves to toot the horns a couple of times. It's expected. It's fine. But sometimes you'll have a crewmate who just won't stop. In between missions, you'll sit in your shuttle being blasted by relentless honking until finally you can jump out onto the surface and run away. Karma for being annoying turns using these items into playing Russian roulette. One wrong honk, and...
The power was too much for him.
So as you can see, there are a heap of mods available, and even more on the way. With the massive content updates on the cards in the near future, I can't wait to see how Lethal Company changes it up even more going forward.
We both know where we stand.
Not only in its incredibly fun vanilla gameplay, but through the expansive modding community that is churning out some great stuff. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Let the sentry shoot it off. That didn't work. Alright, going home.